Today we're going to be talking about the Supreme Court, the highest court in the United States, the head of the Judicial Branch at the federal level. The Supreme Court consists of 9 justices. Those justices are Sonia Sotomayor, Stephen Breyer, Samuel Alito, Elena Kagan, Clarence Thomas, Anton Scala, John G. Roberts Jr., who's the Chief Justice, Anthony Kennedy, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Let's take a further look at these justices. You'll see that they're all over the age of 50, the youngest being Elena Kagan, the oldest being Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the longest serving justice is Justice Scala, starting in 1986. You'll see that the court is fairly divided between conservatives and liberals, with 5 conservatives and 4 liberals. Another word for conservative is Republican. Another word for liberal is Democrat. They don't like to use political party affiliations in the Supreme Court. You'll notice that all went to Ivy League law schools, and the majority of the Supreme Court justices were appointed by a Bush or a Clinton, with Scala and Kennedy being appointed by Reagan. There's diverse religion on the court, with 3 Jewish members, and the rest being Roman Catholic. Now you ask, how does someone get appointed to the Supreme Court? Well, the president submits names to the Senate, which are then sent to the Senate Judiciary Committee. A hearing is held about whether that candidate is an acceptable candidate. If they are, then it goes to the full Senate, where there's a debate and a vote. You need a simple majority to elect someone to the Supreme Court. Now then, if enough people feel strongly about not electing someone, then they can filibuster, which means talk and try to delay the vote. And it takes 60 votes to end a filibuster. That's called a filibuster-proof majority. Now then, what is the judicial branch's role? They are to be passive and reactive. Alexander Hamilton, one of our founding fathers, called them the least dangerous branch, but don't be fooled, they're a very powerful branch, because they do not make the laws or enforce the laws, they simply interpret the laws. The court system is set up in a 2-tiered way, at the federal level and at the state level, and they have to work together. As Hamilton also said, that the Judiciary Committee have no influence over the sword or the purse, which means they can't declare war, and they don't do anything with the budget. Supreme Court justices are elected for life. This frees them from the pressure of public opinion and from being pressured by the rest of the government to make certain decisions. They are an important branch to check the lawmaking abilities of the legislative branch and the executive branch's influence on the legislative branch. Here are the explicit jobs of the judicial branch as laid out by the U.S. Constitution. They look at cases arising for laws and treaties of the United States, They are to deal with cases that have a citizen of one state versus another state, a controversy between two or more states, a controversy between citizens of different states, and so on and so forth. So they can hear basically any type of case that they need to. Now let's look at the actual breakdown of what the federal court system looks like. You'll see that there's 3 levels. One level being, the lowest level being the U.S. District Courts, which you'll see a map of next. Then there's the Court of Appeals, and obviously the Supreme Court. And you'll notice that the Supreme Court does not hear very many cases, only 75 to 90 each year. Each case is quite extensive, and it takes time. Now you'll see the map. There are 11 district courts in the United States. Take a look, soak it in. Now then, there's always the idea of judicial review. Judicial review is the idea that judicial review, as I was saying, is the idea that the court can overturn laws and actions by the executive branch and the legislative branch if they find the law to be corrupt or against the U.S. Constitution. The role of politics in selecting judges. There's no constitutional requirement as to who can serve on the Supreme Court. It is a highly political process, as obviously usually the President of the United States at the time tries to elect people of his own party to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has a lot of power because, as previously stated, their terms are for life and they cannot be removed for any reason unless it can be proven that they are acting corruptly.